Welcome to Alabama Manufacturing Now, hosted by Alabama Technology Network, a podcast where we cover a wide array of challenges, solutions, and innovations for manufacturers. We're your host, Whitney Barlow, Supplier Development Manager. And I'm Paige Caulfield, Marketing and PR Manager.
Hey everyone, we're back with Alabama Manufacturing Now. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Whitney Barlow, your co-host with Alabama Technology Network, and joining me is Joey Massey, our guest co-host today. We should make you our permanent display. I've probably hurt Paige's feelings.
No, you shouldn't do that.
No.
I'm the worst.
Joey's the Director of Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and I'm our Supplier Development Manager, and we have some great guests with us today. We have a fellow ATNer, Alabama Technology Network, Amanda Riles, with the food industry, and then we also have Rob White, the fourth. I told him we were going to call him Quattro. He's the Executive Director of the Alabama Rural Water Association. Thanks so much for coming on, and if y'all have anything, we'd love to hear a little bit about who y'all are and kind of what you do for each side.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and start then. So my background in food industry is a little bit different than what ATN normally does on the day-to-day business. Up until about 5 years ago, in the middle of COVID, and I moved into this role. So my background is mainly in food safety and quality assurance, but with that, I've dabbled a little bit in supply chain, procurement, plant processing, a little bit of everything, including water and wastewater. So one of the things that I was challenged with moving into this role since it was brand new is how can I connect my prior life in the poultry and food processing industry to create this new food industry program? And really, some of the lowest hanging fruit was one of the struggles that we had in plants, and poultry plants especially, is water and wastewater operators, and how are we treating our environment, or how are we sending stuff back to our municipality. So just so happens that Rob and I have known each other long enough that we need to take each other's secrets to the graves.
That's funny.
We went to high school together, so we grew up. We were in band and did all the things. So
you're from LA.
Yes.
So, coming back, one of the first things that came to mind was that, and having a friend that worked for Alabama Rural Water, it was an easy connection, looking at what ATN currently had, what I was bringing to the table, and what Alabama Rural Water could bring to the table.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So like Amanda was saying, we've known each other forever, and just through kind of staying caught up with one another, realized that we had a lot of overlap in what we did. So my kind of foray into the industry was I backed into it, like I'm sure our conversation will get into, a lot of the operators in the state do, but there was an opportunity to work for a small town down in the Wiregrass in Geneva County, Alabama. And so I went and had to do some research, and I found where to go become certified and what classes were required. And so I went and took it upon myself to deal with that and get through that process, and ended up being general manager and water and wastewater operator for a small town for a number of years. And then there was an opening with the Alabama Rural Water Association, who offered me my training when I was coming into the field. So worked out that I took that, was a circuit rider for that group for a while, and I always tell people I was just too dumb to say no. Then any other opportunity came up, so just kind of moved my way through, and now serve as the executive director, and just enjoy it, love the industry, and hope to help it grow.
Well, that's great. That's great.
I think that's fantastic. I am so excited to learn more about the impact that we have with rural water and wastewater. So let's talk a little bit about the partnership that ATN and ARWA have together.
Okay, well, I'll start with that one. So one of the things that basically drew me automatically into looking at doing some reciprocal work with rural water is the operators in the state. When they do their certification testing as well as their continuing education, they not only are working on things that are directly related to water and wastewater, but they also have leadership and development management and industrial technology and maintenance things, and also have to deal with a lot of food safety stuff with the FDA or the EPA. So just depending on what the setup is. And so with us having all of the other stuff and Rob bringing the water and the wastewater technical stuff, it was a match made in heaven, actually. So really, when you think about it in language, we talk about municipality, water and wastewater. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But actually, in the state, there are so many industries that have water and wastewater treatment as part of their industrial forte, right? So they have the same exact operators that we have in water and wastewater in the municipality. So the things that we struggle with are the things that they struggle with.
See, that's okay. So tell me some of the industries so that we all educate me on the
Look, I'm
industries.
interested to learn because like I said in the green room, I always wanted to say that this was
Is that like
it's
the
like a weak
IT?
spot for me. I deal with a lot of manufacturing. I hear a lot of issues, see a lot of stuff, but I'm mostly here to learn. If I'm being honest.
That's good there. So the big thing in Alabama and moving around in the industry and then coming back was a little bit different, where the state of Alabama does not have an industrial operator certification program. So all of our operators actually do the same thing that the municipalities do.
Okay.
So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, it's the same certification that's required, but the jobs obviously are different. And the Rural Water Association, we actually cut our teeth back in the late 70s through operator training.
Right.
It wasn't long after the EPA was formed. Actually, a few years prior to Alabama Rural Water existing, National Rural Water, 6 states came together and organized the National Rural Water Association. And that was kind of the rural America's voice in Congress for water and wastewater concerns. And so, of course, training people in this new EPA and these new regulations that were coming out was paramount then
Right.
and is now.
Still.
So training's where we started, and it's grown into numerous technical assistance offerings that we put out in the field. And we go door to door to all of the water and sewer systems throughout the state. And so a lot of people think municipal. There are several different legal definitions, but I think today we're talking mostly about the community type water systems. So there's authorities and other ways that they're organized. But in general, we'll just discuss kind of the community set of water utilities. And the industries are oftentimes critical customers of these
Right.
utilities. And having that partnership is critical, because most of the time your towns, you think, okay, during an emergency, we need to respond to maybe healthcare, restaurants, or some of the things that come to mind, and maybe not the gigantic food processor that's, sitting on the edge of town doing their operations. And so it could cost a lot of money if that communication's not there. And the training that we do to get our water and wastewater operators certified and qualified and ongoing training is good, but we never focused a lot on the industrial aspects of it, because there's not so much overlap in the municipal world or the utility world with the industrial so far as those go. So just kind of a, partnership.
Mixed bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Joey,
Yes.
trivia.
I love it.
So again, thinking about water and wastewater. So Alabama is and this is from a bona fide poultry scientist now.
I don't want people to think I have answers.
So Alabama is actually, depending on how you count pounds or head of chicken, we're actually number 2 in the U.S.
See, I would have thought we were number 1.
Oh, so Arkansas.
He's good.
So we trade back and forth a little bit with Georgia, depending on, exactly what you're looking at. But so if you do the math, you just about can't drive anywhere in Alabama without passing a chicken place.
And listen, I think that's 100% accurate. Like I said, I would have thought it was number 1. I have family members who work in the poultry industry. I don't think I know anyone who doesn't. Hatcheries, processing plants, you name it, maintenance people, whatever. I think it's prevalent. On the topic of wastewater or water treatment in general, I I'll just put it out there. I'm ashamed to say that
I don't know if we hear where is this going. Let's
I'm ashamed to say that it's just not something I ever really thought about. It seems like I feel like I say the same things the whole time, every time we do this. But in my earlier life, I was a forklift operator. That comes up on the show, it seems, regularly.
You can't believe they would give you a license for that.
Oh, I invented the forklift license. I'm the reason a forklift license exists.
He is now going to be an instructor. Yes.
But what never comes up on the show is what industry that was for. And it was for the apparel industry. And the section of apparel was jeans. And as we all know,
Did you work in the plant that was?
Whitney, please.
I'm sorry.
So these jeans are washed. All these different washes. Now that didn't happen at my facility, but that was what happened. That's where we received the product from. But it's never occurred to me until I'm sitting here listening to you guys say, these machines that they wash this in are huge, and I don't know how many thousands of gallons of water go in there for one thing, and this is a 24/7 operation. Where does this water go when it's done? What happens to it? Also earlier, I've worked with a lot of safety guys, environmental guys, and I know that that's part of the environmental reg. I hear about wastewater and containment and these sorts of things, but I just never, that's why I'm ashamed. I never really put all that together. So I know it's important. Clearly it's important. Water is finite. All that's ever been here is here, and all that's ever going to be here is here. So it's important. But what would you say to a young person that may want to enter into this career path and say, this is important and this is what you can help do? You know what I mean? Will you speak to that a little?
Yeah, from the industrial side, you know, not thinking about it. I think wastewater doesn't come in the conversation on the industrial side unless you can drive by the plant and smell it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only time it comes up, and who wants to do that? Grow to Rob tells the story of who wants to grow up and say, "I wanna be a wastewater operator," wear the outfit to school, but, at the end of the day, and I think, this is part of the operator's struggle as they go through the certification testing is it's math, it's algebra, it's chemistry, it's, hey, I have to study to teach these classes even for it. So if you think about people that are coming out and want to stay around home
Yep.
and make a good wage and get good benefits, whether it's through municipalities or the industrial side, that's one way to do it. Or if they want to go somewhere, they can pretty much, with the critical staffing issues that we have nationwide now, they can pretty much name the place that they want to go.
I was wondering that. I was thinking about asking that as a follow-up. I mean, I just never think about it. You have to have water everywhere. So it's not like these jobs can be few and far between. I mean, they have to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, you're not alone. We've done a terrible job promoting our industry, and we're probably one of the biggest items in life that's taken for granted.
Correct.
It's absolutely. Most people just, you go to the faucet and you expect the water to come on, you expect it to go somewhere, and that's about all you think about until the day you wake up and it doesn't. And then, that becomes priority. That's all that for
Correct.
for everyone. The one of the things we definitely have to do is promote the industry better. And it's a wonderful industry, and it's one that you can live locally. You can work, make a difference. You're the front line to disease prevention in the community. Our operators have done wonderful work. I mean, it's been a while since you've heard about a dysentery outbreak.
That's
great.
That's
a great point.
accurate. That's correct. Thank God. Thank the Lord. Thank you. Thank you very much. Funny story about the rain. I don't know. Did you work at Wrangler?
No, I did not work at Wrangler.
Okay. Well, I lived in Monroeville for a short period of time.
Parent company for Wrangler.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
teach Wrangler.
So way back, probably for the 70s, when Vanity Fair, I mean, this would have been before all the EPA regulations, right off the town square was where the bra processing place was. And the big joke with the probate judge that I worked for was You always knew by what color the creek was of what color they were tying the crop.
That's not good.
And so I'm like, well, there we go. I said, that must have been for they actually started treating the water. He goes, yeah, that was for all the regulations came into play. But that is a true statement, is like you don't realize on the industry sector. I mean, we've both talked about textile. Both of us have taught, and then there's of course food. And I'm sure as Amanda's reference, like there's quite a few. So tell me a little bit about like what are these skill sets? So we have the municipality side or the authority side, whatever that's created. Number one, I do
Or the operator at a plant site.
right, or the operator at the plant, and it's the same certification, so it's going to be the same skill set, just different locations that you're kind of doing it. One has a lot of politics, one not so much, maybe. So tell me a little bit about the skill sets. Like, what are if someone's listening to this and they're like, well, this is something really interesting, or if it's a K-12, like we want to try to implement that into a career tech. What are we looking for?
I think, well, one thing I kind of want to clarify for the folks listening or watching that may not be familiar with the certification. So there are a number of certifications that are under the water or wastewater rubric there. And those depend on the type of plant that's
Okay.
actually being operated. So once that plant is put into place, then it's going to require a certain qualification. So just don't want anybody thinking you can just go get a blanket water or waste. There's specifics, and we don't have to get in the
There are
weeds.
levels to it, whatever it is.
Yeah, for anybody interested, call me and we'll go all the way in the weeds and get you matched up with a career path. But
Out of curiosity, I'm sorry, I come up with curiosity questions during this thing. And I'm sure one of you will know this. I have no clue. What year did the regulations actually start to kick in?
I think it was 1973.
See, that's
The
what I
Safe
figured.
Drinking-
Because OSHA was like 74, so I figured it was around there somewhere. Now,
There was a river in the middle of the country that caught on fire, and I think Congress said,
I remember that. I mean, not that I was a long time ago, 74, but
okay, all of these things, the creek turns color, whatever goes into the Tennessee River by the industries on the side of it for, I don't know what, 120 years? This was just free to happen.
prior to 1970, that is what he's talking about.
Well, I was
Let's
trying to
clarify.
place the Industrial Revolution, but whatever.
I'm sure there were other regulatory frameworks of some kind, but the Environmental Protection Agency, that agency was formed
Yeah.
at that point and kind of restructured, brought it up under a roof, and love them or hate them, we definitely need them. And, America's got some of the most stringent quality standards in the world. So
So skill sets of you have gone like skill sets of we have an operator in Alabama. You said they need one certification, correct?
Of some sort.
Of some sort,
At least one.
at least one.
at least one.
So what's your baseline skill set? What are we looking for in that workforce? What?
And from the community standpoint, excuse me, it really depends on the type of plant and the size of system that you're operating. If you get into a really small rural town, then you got to have a broad skill set. You got to be self-motivated. You got to be a self-starter. You'll be working on something different every day. You've got to handle paperwork. You got to tell people, once upon a time, it was pretty much a handyman that had to check some chlorine residuals, VFX pots. Now you've got to be a therapist, an engineer, a chemist.
There.
I
like how
I keep being afraid chemistry's going to come up, and I'm like, I'm just going to have to duck out.
It's
I'll have a quiz at the
yeah. I nurse most recently with COVID, having to check temperatures before you read water meters, and so it's just a broad range. You may be in small towns, you're hanging Christmas lights, you're catching dogs, you're handling all. Now in the larger plants, you may have an opportunity to work more individually with a particular process in the process chain. So kind of becomes more specialized as you move to different areas.
On
So-
the industrial side, it's almost like a small municipality where you have one person, and again, it depends on what kind of plant it is, on what your operator level needs. But, for a poultry plant that's in a rural area, they have to have a water and a wastewater operator, and usually that's one person. And it's staffed 24/7, 365, and they're also their HVAC repair manager, their electrician. They do all the things.
And, it seems strange to me that there's probably so much water required for that, for a product that has nothing to do with water at the end. But that's most products, I think, or most industries.
Well, I'll tell you the first conference that I went to, the technical training conference in Montgomery. We just set up just because we knew that we were going to kind of get into this, and I just wanted to see what the audience was at
Right.
that, and the amount of our current clients that came by our table,
Sure.
it was very surprising, and that did not include anybody from the poultry industry. It was all plastic and chemical and metal processing.
I I know that new technologies come out in processing, or something new happens and they make a new process, or it improves the process, or it makes it where it can be improved. Where do you see that in, like we said, this is 74, that's only 50 years. We've come to where we are in 50 years. Where do you see that in the next 10 years? Do you think it will change a lot? Do you think, what do you believe will happen there?
I'll let you start on that one. Regulation laws.
Okay, pass that the salt ball over here. I think there's going to be a vast amount of change. You bring up the point. That was one of the things that kind of blew my mind as I was getting into this, is that it has only been 50 years. You hear EPA, you can't imagine a world where there was not that, much less,
There very much was one.
yeah, only 50 years ago when all this started. So the industry is fairly immature when you compare to a lot of these other areas. Some manufacturing industry have 100 years of process modifications and growth and control and policy and procedure. And a lot of these small towns started with, five neighbor farmers got together and said, hey, we need to kind of formalize a water system to develop a community. And so they went to Farmers Home, which was, the predecessor for United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, USDA, and got together and borrowed $10 million and installed a water system and started operating it. And from there, that allowed for the economic fundamental baseline for the area, and just allows the community to develop and grow. You have to have it. You have water and sewer. You have to have those services. And electricity is right along the same vein. Once you get those three, then you can start to grow, and that's how a lot of it started. So, been a lot of figuring it out. It's what I like to say. But the next 50 years, with the technology advancements and cybersecurity concerns and other regulatory framework, it's really hard to say.
Well, I think of it as like, flight, right? It didn't take any time to go from, hey, we can make this fly 100 yards, to let's cross the oceans.
Right.
And now there's Concord and all this. In my lifetime, I have gone from when I was growing up to having to pump water from a spring up to the house, to having city water, for lack of a better term, to here are 2 bottles of water. In my youth, this is not a thing that would have been seen. Like in my lifetime, it's changed that much. So, it's amazing.
And I want to clarify that my group, we promote tap water. All right, so and that's what you shouldn't drink that. And this is convenient for this format, but listen, the tap water is great. So everybody out there, please,
That is tap water. I'm just saying.
That is priceless. Drink tap water.
Yeah, we deliver is one of the messaging, from. So yeah, tap water is good. I want to promote that as much as possible.
I will promise you this. You'll love this. My tap water at home. Also, remind me to show you a video after this podcast is over. My tap water at home, honestly, it tastes better than some bottled waters I have gotten. So I appreciate your work.
That's amazing.
That looks like you might have a new judge for the Alabama best water system.
I'm happy to judge anything. People say this is my greatest flaw.
Yeah, yeah. At some point, I do definitely want to plug. I'm proud of our conferences that we put on, and I want to let everybody out there know that even if they're unfamiliar with the industry, now it's a technical training conference that's put on for industry people, but I've met some young people recently that have come through and wanted to get into the industry, and we've been able to help develop some of that pathway for those folks. And So if anybody's interested, reach out and let us know, and we could probably comp a half-day pass to to sneak in there and see what's going on. But yeah, we have our annual water drinking water taste test is what Amanda was talking about. So, and she's been a
Good one for you.
It was a judge.
she's been a judge at that event before. The winner,
Happy to take.
we take our winners. We call it the Great American Water Taste Test, the Alabama Finals.
Nice.
And so we take the winner up to the actual Great American Water Taste Test in D.C. in February and compete against all the other states in the country. And Alabama actually had a winner in, I think it was 2010, down in Perdido Beach, won the our Perdido Bay Water and Sewer Authority, actually beat, all the water from.
And they had to get all the salt out of it. Look, I didn't even know this was a thing that happened.
I didn't either. Look what's
That's
we
amazing. I
learned.
had no idea.
Yeah.
I will tell you the first one that I judged, I grew up on spring water, and I was in my bio, and I about got booed off the stage.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, that is really funny.
Yeah, that's
Who would have thought? So, what is your average age of operators? Since we're talking about both sides, I would imagine it's youth is not on their side.
Yeah. Rob has some good stats.
Yeah.
Yes, I will say that on the industrial side, we run exactly the same way that they do. So
Right,
think
right.
about that for us.
That's actually the first bullet point. So I'm not going to refer to a lot of this throughout our conversation, but it's a great opportunity to actually introduce this data set that any of the numbers that I do reference, I'm pulling
Sure.
from this. And the Alabama Department of Environmental Management actually conducted a survey last year, and this was released February 28th of this year, 2025.
Oh, hot off the press.
And hot off the press. I brought this in, and I'm going to make this available. It's available digitally, and I'll share the link. I don't know if there's a resource place
Sure
that we
is.
can utilize, but I'll put a link to this so everybody can go in and see all of the, hundreds of charts that they put together. But I've got a little bit of summary data, and I do want to mention at the outset of this, let's see, there were 247 respondents, operators to the state, and 73 managers that responded to this, and they represent 61 of the 67 counties. So while this isn't going to be, 100% participation in the survey,
Sure.
none ever are.
Yeah.
This is the newest data set that I know, and it specifically references Alabama operators. So I think it's a good quality data set. But back to answer your question, according to this study, 48% of operators, and this is also backed by data that ADM has, and they run the operator certification program. So these numbers will be accurate. Any fact checkers out of there, I'll refer you back to the Department of Environmental Management. And I've got friends over there, so say Amanda sent you if you complain. But
Ask for Bobby.
yeah. So a couple of interesting facts that I found. So 48% of operators are 50 or older.
Oh, wow. I was thinking,
And
yeah.
if you want another study to look at, there was a study conducted by the Brookings Institute. It's a little old now. I think it was back in 2010 that data came out, but it's still relevant and is still referenced quite a bit. And it was one of the first studies that was talking about the gray wave of operators coming up. Now, the gray wave in 10 years didn't actually show up in 10 years, but a reason for that is that the people who find themselves in this industry tend to love it so much, and it's their community.
Yeah.
And so when they get to the time where they can retire, nobody's coming in behind them to be able to do the job, so they're just staying.
Yeah.
It's
makes sense.
yeah, almost kind of a forced type of deal. But until we can get some people trained and into the workflow, and now it's harder.
Feel responsible for the community's water.
It was the past director of the Office of Apprenticeship, Josh Laney. He had a quote at one of our technical conferences. He was speaking, and he said, everybody in here is competing for the same people: Buc-ee's, NASA, and Tuscaloosa Water. Or they're all competing for the same folks, and it's hard to compete out there now. Buc-ee's, what do they pay? A starting bathroom as well. It's like, $20 an hour.
Yeah, Joey and I have sit there and talked about how much.
I love to
people-
marvel at that little
That-
stand-up sign
They
outside.
have right out their door. Speaking of apprenticeships, so tell me, do y'all offer, if he was speaking, do y'all do apprenticeships?
We do. We do. So National Rural Water first registered the jobs, water operations specialist, wastewater operations specialist, through the DOL
Okay.
process. And from there, all the state affiliate associations had an opportunity to go and start. We all have to start our own apprenticeship program within the state, but it's backed by that national support
Which
structure.
is always
that's
helpful.
there.
Right.
So
That works, don't we?
Well, we try.
We try.
yeah, and some of the data that you'll find if you go through this thing is one of the biggest impediments is becoming certified and I guess, lack of a structured pathway to achieving that.
Right.
And so that is one of the objectives that we've got with this apprenticeship idea is it's going to be a formalized support structure that can wrap these people, not only help introduce people to the industry, but once they find their way into it. So tell you, if I could back up into my story, I showed up and they say we need a water operator. So I'm like, okay, how do you do that? So I go to the interwebs, I'm clicking around. I'm like, what is this? I call the state, and they say, call rural water. So I called rural water and they said, buy these books, take, here's a class, go do this and go pass a test and then go get hired and work a while. And then once you do enough of that, you're certified. And so it's kind of like,
Oh, okay.
good luck. You got the experience piece and you got the test you got to pass. So I made my way through that. Somehow I was
That
always,
murkiness. Huh?
Sure. You want clear direction.
worked on the clarifier. So the good thing about the apprenticeship program is it is standardized and it's a tried and true process. Well, industries had apprenticeships for 100 years and
If not longer.
and water and wastewater didn't until 2018. So National got that going and we started ours and we worked with the local apprenticeship office and there's two parts. It's a 2-year program for water or for the wastewater.
Right.
So 4 years if you want to move through that. You get hired, you get sponsored. We put you in place with an employer. You start your process. You've got a number of technical instruction that you have to classroom piece that you have to do. And then you also got 4,000 hours of work that you have to put in. You're paired with a mentor at the utility, and you have Rural Water as a sponsor, so that we kind of wrap arms around the people and guide them through this process. Now, that's not just to be certified. You can go and get a certification much quicker, just standalone. But this process is hopefully going to graduate well-rounded, full-blown operators
Right.
when they're through the process. So,
And you're going to have people that can come in and actually take over instead of like, well, I'm thinking maybe we should add something here. Fair amount.
yes, and they get exposed to a lot of different instruction and stuff that you wouldn't necessarily, you would just have to kind of happen into if you were on your own.
Can you imagine? Hey, Siri.
No. Yes, that's what I would.
Uriah Town's water.
ChatGPT. What? The water looks like this. What do I do?
Take a picture, send it up. We got to clarify.
If anybody tests that, let me know if Alabama Rural Water shows up.
Yeah, look, it just seems like there's a lot to it. I'm not even sure I could do it. So, at ATN, we like to collaborate with other agencies in the state. What does successful collaboration with ATN look like to you?
Amanda, what's your measures? Let me kick one here.
So for personally, for both sides,
Sure.
I would like to see the succession pipeline full of people. And however we need to get there, we need to get there. So Rob talked a little bit about the apprenticeship program. We have talked about integrating industrial people into that. So remember, I said a lot of places have only one person, maybe
Right.
2 people. So hopefully we can do that. And then one of the big sticking points, and I'm going to let Rob get on his soapbox about this, but the certification process, the test is a sticking point for a lot of people. It's hard, and it's not your typical college graduate that's
Sure.
going to take it. And it can be very difficult for people to do that. And they may take it 4 or 5 times and then just say, hey, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'll work as long as I'm under another operator. And in some situations you can't do that. So I would love to see the average passing score or the average score overall on each grade level to be above passing.
Right.
That would be a great success.
Yeah. So
What's on this test?
I'm not legally allowed to.
Oh, you can't tell me like algebra?
Yeah, math, safety.
Okay. I mean
Yeah.
subjects. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I didn't need to know what number 3 was. Chemistry.
That's all I can say for free. Now, once that thing, so now so the test is difficult, but Alabama Rural Water doesn't advocate for an easier test.
Sure.
Because we don't need something. We don't need to rubber stamp operators out there because again, they're in a critical role within the community. Don't want to read about dysentery in the
Correct.
Sunday Times or whatever, but
Chat GPT running the SCADA.
I will say, so the Department of Environmental Management, ADM, we partner with them on a lot of initiatives, training and otherwise, and they run the certification program, and adopting the perfect test, I don't know if it's possible, but they work really hard at trying to figure out how to deliver a quality test to be able to, not to be an impediment into the industry and make it impossible for people to get into the industry, but also make sure that our standards are held to a degree that should be expected for somebody who's going to come and run your water, treating the wastewater is not about what color is the river, but you want to prevent fish kills and keep the environment clean and usable for everybody.
I mean, I'm sure some of the regulations that are required of the entities who handle this water and treat it, that lays out the requirements of what you need to be able to do to meet the compliance of these regulations. I mean, I want to say, would you say that's a hindrance? But obviously it's a hindrance, but it's a hindrance on purpose because it needs to be a hindrance. So do you think that could be lessened? Do you think it should be heightened? Do you think it's in exactly the right place? Do we know yet? Have we got there?
We're at the beginning. So we've done a couple of test runs on a couple of different deliveries in terms of operator training and continuing ed type stuff. But honestly, we're taking a look at kind of the ATN way to train and the rural water way to train.
All right.
Looking at some other maybe delivery methods from other types of teaching. And, if you came to my office, there's a stack of textbooks that's about this tall, and that's the certification textbooks. And I'll tell you, some of them haven't had the wrapper taken off of them.
Yeah.
So that's just, especially with the younger people coming up, we're not going to lure people in to pass tests with textbooks.
Sure.
You've got to have them, but we've also got to meet people where they are.
Sure. Well, I mean, test anxiety is a real thing also.
Yeah.
It's all.
Well, how to study is a big
Yeah.
one. How to study, how to take the test, just any sort of metric that you can imagine. We've got to start doing that. And even if it's something like, hey, I got to go to summer school. I'm going to take chemistry, right? We're going to have some chemistry workshops and math workshops and things that we can try to cover all the different points.
So one of the I guess one of the good parts about a career in water and wastewater is you can start even with a GED or just a high school diploma. You don't have to invest a fortune in a college degree to get to this, and it can be a really rewarding career once you get into it. So, but that does cause difficulty because you don't have people who are professional students. Most of the time are really equipped with how do I study and pass this test? Because the operator, in order to pass the test, the truth of the matter is once you pass the test and go actually operate in the system, you're not going to use a lot of the stuff.
we know how
A lot of the stuff you learn, you have to have for the test. But now, as an operator at the system, you need to know what the engineer is going to do when they're developing a plant. You need to know where the resources, how to apply for funding, how to work within the municipal or government framework to do this.
Right.
You got to know all the science behind this stuff.
If some of the automation breaks down, you need to know what's happening.
But once you're done, once you pass the test and you have all those fundamentals, you put the book on the shelf for a reference, and then you hire engineers, and you hire, or the city or the authority hires engineers. They hire labs. You're not, you may do lab work internally to track that stuff, but the actual lab is going to be a state certified lab. Is going to have to sign off on these things. So what you end up doing versus what you have to study to learn to pass that test can be typically very, very different. Yeah.
Yes, it's very much an apprenticeship type setup. So we've talked a little bit about the test and who kind of it would apply to, and that it's not always going to be that person that's college age. So what exactly do you do to attract young people, or what are y'all planning to do, or what's your ideas behind that?
So what we're doing is we've in partnership with the with ADM, we've done groundwater festivals for a long time. Now these are really young people. This is targeted at fourth graders, and so every county organized. There's one in Monroeville actually that we.
It sounds like an interesting thing.
We got as a matter of fact, in Monroeville, have you been to the water tank? Have you been in the water tank?
Oh, I've been very good friends with the manager of the Monroeville water. I mean, he's still, yes. He and I are very good friends. I have been in the water tank. We have had a job fair in the water tank. It is fine.
So yes, for the fourth graders, we have the groundwater festivals, and it's edible aquifers, and we filter things out, and it's all fun and kind of hands-on and high level.
My son did that last year, in Prattville. Pine Level.
Some of the Q&A is hilarious. We talk about conserving water, and one of the kids raised his hand and said, because Daddy said that if we don't turn the water off, the meter spins and it costs money. And so,
all true.
But beyond that, so the apprenticeship program, we want to gain more access into exposure through like the career centers in Alabama. So if you go and you look, and it does have a forklift operator, next to it may be a water system operator, water plant, wastewater plant. We want to have more exposure that way, working with the VA, getting some veterans and other people into the industry. And we're going to be working toward a bridge program. I don't know when we'll get this started. And it's kind of difficult when you get into the high schools because and with industry as well, I would imagine insurance requirements kind of frown on 15, 16-year-olds being in these settings. But we're going to try and work through that to try and bring people in earlier and make them aware of what's out there. And then through our membership, which is the majority of the water and wastewater systems throughout the state, they do a fantastic job locally in their communities with plant tours and other events and attending job fairs and career building events. Those are the directions that we're going to focus on. We just need a lot more bodies and a lot more time to be able to, it's a good everywhere, but those are some of the initial.
I'm assuming you would say that's your main challenge is the pipeline of people to be.
I would think so.
And for us on the industrial side, especially in the food processing, meat, poultry, we have environmental health and safety managers that come with an OSHA background, but they have no idea what's going on with wastewater and water treatment. Yeah. So we have developed some new partnered classes that we team teach, and they're kind of geared towards people like me who, it's just like at your house when the water hits that break off, in your yard, you're responsible for it. Well, it's the same thing on the industrial side. And as a food safety manager and a quality manager, you are now responsible for that. So we've went through and tried to put together some classes that are more overarching for regulatory things and just understanding water and wastewater and all the different ways to do it and kind of what Alabama looks like too on a national scale. So I'm hoping that at least from a professional side, that'll bring more people in.
Yeah.
That's
That reminds me of my favorite note from the water meter person that they leave on your door. Hey, your meter was spinning really fast. Has been for a while. Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Just what, they didn't have to let you know, sir.
I agree. They could wait until my bill came. It's been
And then
spinning
you
fast.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I've been watching it, and I was like, "Woo, that's gonna be a rough one when it comes in the mail." And I just drove on. So before we go, is there anything that we feel like that Joey, the fabulous co-host, and myself did not cover with y'all that y'all might want to bring up?
Some of the additional training that we're going to be developing for this partnership, I want to mention we've got a couple of new VR actual
Nice.
that'll be coming out. So that's in early stages now, but as it's developed, we've got a one session where you learn how to pull a water sample from the water system standpoint. And it's great. You put your helmet on and you're just watching a video, and it's like you're in a 360
Yeah.
actual side of the road meeting. And then you switch over to the app later, and you're actually moving the virtual,
Oh,
you know,
really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
torch in the faucet and actually filling out paperwork on the tailgate. Like, this is legitimate
That's awesome.
work.
Do you have one where you get dysenterias and
No, we don't want to feed
forget surgery?
dysentery.
Sorry.
Well,
You
you
love that game.
you change a chlorine cylinder, and so if you make a mistake, it's much better to do that in a virtual chlorine
Correct.
cylinder
Yes.
than a real one.
They can get tricky pretty fast. You make mistakes with chlorine cylinders.
Yes.
So it's going to be exciting trying to roll out the new stuff and see, because we want to meet people where they are. Our our experienced, seasoned operators, they still have to have continuing education, and I don't think they're going to be strapping on any VR hats. Some of them, but probably not the majority. Just wants their handouts and go over the details and move on.
Yeah. Well, there is one big thing that we did not talk about benefit wise, and that is funding.
Oh.
Yeah. So a lot of what, you think about Rob on his side, and he's dealing with the EPA and the USDA, but a different USDA than what we deal with. So by partnering together, it kind of allows us to have more opportunity for helping people to get funding to help training and projects, technical service stuff. So we have had several projects already that we've been able to take advantage of.
That's fantastic. Well, will you tell them real quick, Rob, how they can get in touch with you for at Alabama Rural Water Association?
Absolutely. So AL Rural Water is kind of the core of everything we've got. So if you go to Facebook and type in AL Rural Water, you'll get it alruralwater.com. We got training.alruralwater.com, which is a site that focuses on that. So AL Rural Water. And if you're in Montgomery, we're on Bell Road. So
Fantastic. And we'll also put that link up on the ADM 2024 survey. And Amanda, even though you're part of Alabama Technology Network, how can they get in touch with you if they want to ask more questions about food safety, food industry, etc.?
So you can email foodsafety@atn.org, and it'll come to me on the team of one on the food industry stuff, or my office is actually in Opelika at Southern Union.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming today, Joey.
I really enjoyed it. I felt like I learned a lot.
I know, I do too. I feel like I understand better the whole entire concept of Alabama rural water. Well,
I feel like I've only scratched the surface, but
hey, so see us back next time. Thanks for coming, checking in.
thank you
For having us.
thanks.